off the heels of a chaotic race at Talladega and on the horizon of the championship race weekend at the Homestead Miami Speedway, it's gotta be Rockingham Speedway as it plays host to the penultimate race for the fourth straight season here in the Duracell Cup Series. Getting ready to take to maybe one of the most historical racetracks out there on the circuit, and maybe one of the biggest tire killers as well, as Charles Belding will be starting on the pole position for this evening's festivities. Belding, the defending winner of this race, so he will look to go back to back, also in search of his third career Duracell Cup Series victory and second of the season after winning earlier on this year at the Pukekohe Road Course. Alongside of him is going to be Phil Parker, who is still chasing his first career Duracell Cup Series victory despite being in the series for the past 3 seasons. Jack Mitchell's going to complete the podium. He's also searching for his first win on the season, second of his career, and the highest starting playoff contender is going to complete the second row in J Millz. But let's talk points after what's happened here in this third round of the playoffs. Kick it off with Boston International Speedway, which in a lot of ways is very much like the track we're here at tonight, Rockingham Speedway, just maybe with a lot more banking. So, the drivers that did well at Boston, you would think that they probably would take to Rockingham tonight pretty well, because they had that experience from 2 weeks ago. But Talladega being that middle race in between both Boston and Rockingham, that was the big difference maker. Several drivers did well, but several drivers did not, and it caused a number of drivers to drop several spots in the point stands and put themselves in a little bit of danger. And when I mean a little bit of danger, I mean not nearly as much as you would expect. So let's break down the numbers of the final four, or the final eight, I should say, coming into this race, then whittle it down to the final four by the end of this evening. 2 drivers come into this race, I'm not going to say worry-free, but they're in really good position points-wise because they had a good run at Boston and then had a decent run to follow that up last week at Talladega. Daytona 500 winner if I could say the words with my mouth before I say them in my brain. Daytona 500 winner T Wright, he is one of those drivers that looks like he's in good shape to advance into the Final Four. 2-time winner currently sits 30 points ahead of the cut line. If he can keep himself at least up inside the top 30 in the running order today, I think regardless of even another of the playoff contenders win, I think he's going to get one of the final 4 positions. Bear in mind, we've never had a Daytona 500 winner win the championship in the same year. Every Daytona 500 winner since season 1 has made it into the playoffs, but they've never been able to capitalize on getting that championship trophy. The other driver that's also in good shape coming into this race would be Carson Gum. Now, of course, Carson didn't really catch fire until the elimination race at the end of round 2 at Arizona Speedway, where he picked up his first and up to this point only win of the season. Bear in mind as well, he was the only driver that pointed his way into the playoffs. So he has definitely been that kind of underdog turned maybe top guy, favorite guy going into the season finale. He has a total of 26 points ahead of the cut line. So for T Wright, Carson Gum, the goal is simple here tonight. Finish inside the top 30, you're advancing into the championship 4. For everybody else, though, it's going to be very, very close. How close? Well, put it in perspective, that 3rd through 8th, the remaining 6 playoff contenders are only separated by 7 points. Your cut line driver coming into tonight is K Batson. 2 points up on him, actually, correction, 1 point up on him is the driver that's starting the highest of the playoff contenders, J Millz, rolling off from P4. Dylan Young, Jordan Lopez, the defending champion, and Zach Rogers, they're only 2 points back. All of them, 2 points back in a 3-way tie for the 5th position, 2 points behind the cut line. And even the, and I'll put this in air quotes, long shot driver, C Dollerton, who did not have the run he was looking for last week at Talladega, dropped down to 8th out of the 8 playoff drivers. He's only 6 points behind the cut line. So theoretically not a long shot driver by any stretch of the imagination, but he is the driver that's currently in the cellar of the remaining Elite 8. So man, oh man, it's going to be close here tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to try and keep the calculations straight in our heads here this evening, as it will be 51 laps at the Rockingham Speedway. I'm going to be calling this track all sorts of things here tonight because it's kind of like Darlington. It's got a bunch of nicknames and a bunch of things that it's called. It's known as North Carolina Speedway. It's known as Rockingham Speedway. And to a lot of these guys, it's just simply known as The Rock. Well, The Rock is also the term for prison, and hopefully these drivers don't feel that they're going to be locking themselves out of the Final Four. That was a horrible pun. Let's get on to the race. Let's go down trackside. Let's get those famous words in motorsports. And Charles Belding ready to lead them off the grid.
Drivers, start your engines!
Check down in the description below for your starting lineup for this evening's race at Rockingham. Belding, as mentioned, is the defending winner of this race. The winner from Season 2, Benny Watson, is also in the field. The inaugural winner of this event all the way back in Season 1, however, is not. And that was, of course, Jay Jefferson when he drove that black and gray number 5 Cobalt Chevrolet to victory lane. Made a pass around somebody. I'm trying to remember who it was for the race win. And we saw even earlier on this evening, Dylan Schwallenberg make the pass around his teammate Tristan Allen on the outer groove as they went the entire 27 laps of that green flag. So wonder if those charter drivers took notice that there actually is something available up there in that second line. Will they go there early, or will they go there if we go into a long green flag run? We'll have to find out. Subway 400, the final four to be determined. Green flags in the air. Let's roll at the rock. Had a car up the hill there, Patrick Smith. Kept an eye on him because you take it 3 wide there out of turn 2. You can put your right sides just off of the groove where the rubber's laid down, lose that grip, and hit that outside wall. But looks like he was able to either lift out of the throttle enough or had just enough grip to be able to make that corner, and they've settled it back out to double wide pretty much all the way through the field. Belding out in front. Mitchell's going to slot to second. J Millz now going to move into third, just in front of fellow blue oval Phil Parker. And then Cole Baker right now completing the top 5. Baker pretty happy coming into this weekend, I would assume, as his teammates Dylan Schwallenberg and Tristan Allen had a DCW Racing 1-2 finish earlier on this evening in the non-charter qualifying race. Baker still looking for his first win on the season in that Dollar General Toyota. Former Daytona 500 winner. Apologize for that little bit of a stutter there. As Millz puts the pressure on Jack Mitchell. Matthew Rodriguez. Saw him up inside the top 10, and it looks like I actually was focused on 11th through 19th there. That's my bad. Apologies there. As Carson Gum trying to get by Cole Deaver. Again, remember, he and T Wright, they basically just have to finish this race up inside the top 30. So, wonder how aggressive Carson Gum would be here to try and pick up his second win on the season. Of course, whoever advances into the Final Four, nobody's going to have an advantage over the other. No bonus points carry over. Everybody's going to be tied with the same amount of points, and it'll just come down to who finishes the best next week at Homestead. As Dylan Young, who was -2 behind the cut line coming to this race, right now in the 9th position, the 2-time winner. And there's Chris Dollerton, the inaugural champion of the Duracell Cup Series. Had that win all the way back at Manassas, which locked him into the playoffs. He made the 10 required starts during the regular season, and that was his automatic ticket into the playoffs. Made it through the round of 16, the round of 12, and now looking for a chance to advance into the round of 8. Look for his second opportunity at hoisting a championship trophy. Remember, he's -6 behind the cut line. He needs drivers ahead of him like Batson and Millz and Young and Lopez and Rogers to all have bad nights. That's a tall task to ask everybody else to accommodate you to make it into the Final Four. Speaking of Rogers, there he is. Back in Season 2, Zach Rogers was in the battle for the championship in the Final Four, along with his teammate Ryan Brommer. Ryan Acosta was the eventual champion out of that one. But Rogers right now in the 17th position, trying to take 16th away from 2-time winner Jacob Thibodeaux. Thibodeaux and now Ryan Brommer, the only 2 drivers that have gone back-to-back this year. Thibodeaux did it early on in the playoffs at Charlotte Roval and Indianapolis. And then Ryan Brommer's done it in the last 2 weeks at Boston and Talladega. Matt Haas battling with Ryan Acosta. This is for 11th, just outside the top 10. I mentioned the fact that Jay Jefferson was the inaugural winner of this race. And I can't for some reason pull in the name of the team that he drove for, but I do remember that Jay Jefferson and Matt Haas were teammates in that race. Haas drove the 8, Jefferson drove the 5, and Diego Yepes was the driver of the 0. I believe we talked about Diego Yepes actually back at Lime Rock, where he was a former winner. Well, Belding was pulling away there. And now Jack Mitchell has reeled him back in. Question is, when does Mitchell make the move? Can Mitchell make the move? Let's watch these guys off of 2. Yeah, Belding's running the defensive line there down to the inside. That's kind of what we saw Tristan Allen do in the non-charter race. And of course, in the end, it cost him when Dylan Schwallenberg was able to get to the outside, get the run down the back straightaway, and eventually take the lead and the win from his teammate. So you have to wonder if Jack Mitchell at any point would try sticking his nose up there to the top side over in turns 1 and 2, or is he going to wait a little bit before doing that? I also don't have a clear idea of what the fuel window is for these drivers. They ran the full 27 laps clean and green in the non-charter event and didn't have to come to pit road for that. So we know at least they can go 27 laps. That gives us a little something, but aside from that, don't really know. This battle back here is interesting between Dylan Young and Chris Dollerton. It's up inside of the top 10 for the 9th position. Why it's interesting is because Dylan Young, his scenario is he just has to finish 2 spots ahead of K Batson, and he's into the final 4. For Chris Dollerton, on the other hand, he has to finish 7 positions ahead of Batson. 4 positions, actually make that 5 positions ahead of Dylan Young, Jordan Lopez, Zach Rogers, in order to get himself up in to the final 4. Got what, I believe 3 playoff drivers up inside, 4 playoff drivers actually up inside of our top 10. With where Zach Rogers is running, we've got 5 of them inside of our top 20, but what about the other ones? Where are they? I don't see Jordan Lopez, T Wright, or K Batson. There's Lopez, losing a spot to Austin LaPlante. He drifted back to 31st. It's 30th position he's battling for right now with the 48. There's T Wright. Back here in 39th, and just behind him in 40th is where you find K Batson. This is not good for K Batson, and it's not necessarily good for T Wright as well. Remember I said, you know, he and Carson Gum, well, they're both in good positions coming into this race. It doesn't mean that they can just go out there, log laps, and finish wherever they want to. They've got to finish up inside the top 30 at least. And this is not good here for T Wright, especially with the fact that drivers like Dylan Young, J Millz, Carson Gum, Zach Rogers, Chris Dollerton are all running up there inside of the top 15. Matter of fact, you've also got Ryan Brommer, back-to-back winner in the last 2 weeks. He's back here, mired in the 41st position with Levi McIntyre, currently in 42nd. Not sure what's going on here. Having a little bit of an issue here in terms of everything freezing. So just bear with me. I'm going to quickly bring us to a commercial break, try and figure out what's going on. Then we'll be back here to North Carolina Speedway as Charles Belding shows the way. Got a battle for 3rd there, 19 laps in to our penultimate race of the season. Welcome back here to the 35th race, next to last race of the 4th season of the Duracell Cup Series in the Subway 400 at Rockingham Speedway. Watching Carson Gum lead Group 2. Carson right now in the 7th position with Nathan Ormond, Dylan Young, Chris Dollerton right behind him. It's a completion of your top 10. They're chasing the lead group, which right now is 6 drivers. Charles Belding, who started on the pole, has led every lap so far. Jack Mitchell hasn't really gotten off his back bumper, though. And Phil Parker has joined this, made it a trio battle for the top position. They got another group of 3 behind them with J Millz, Cole Baker, and Cole Deaver. Almost halfway through this race already so far. All clean and green, but we're starting to get a general idea prior to the possibility of green flag pit stops of who looks like they would be Championship 4 material and who right now is in desperation mode for these final 27 laps, I believe it would be, when they come around and take this this next time around, hit the start-finish line. Right now, Carson Gum looks like he's in good shape. Dylan Young, running in 9th, looks like he would be up inside of the final 4. J Millz, who's up inside the top 5, looks like he would be locked in, and that's kind of a who's who of that final position. T Wright's back in the field right now. K Batson also. They're towards the very tail end of the field. So it looks like it might come down between maybe Zach Rogers and Chris Dollerton for who would get that final spot. And right now, Dollerton runs in 10th. Rogers is back in 18th, and those two came into this race separated by 4 points. So Dollerton, if my live points are correct, might be currently the other final 4 driver, which would mean that we would have 3 Fords and 1 Chevrolet to battle for the championship next week. But there's still a long ways to go. Pit road very much may have a part still to play into the outcome of this race. Here's Benny Watson, Season 2 winner here. And right now slotted in the 16th position, looking to crack the top 15 as he gets to the inside of fellow Camry Matt Haas. Dylan Schwallenberg won the non-charter race earlier on tonight, and he has done a good job of making forward progress in this one. We know he's really good on the long run. The longer the run goes on, the better he gets. And he is up inside of the top 20, actually bringing Michael Wayne Robinson in the 93 along with him. Schwallenberg started this race back in the 37th position, and midway through this race, he's picked up 17 spots. Actually, I think you could say 18. I think he just took the 19th spot away from Jesse Turner. And he did not. He's still in 20th. Now trying to get around the Toyota Camry of Patrick Smith. What about those 3 Fords towards the back that have been struggling? Have they made any progress of any kind? The answer is no. Jordan Lopez battling here with J Qualls for 34th. T Wright's back here in 38th, and K Batson's fallen back even further. He's in the 40th position, and he's in a little group here with Ryan Butcher, Ryan Brommer, and Levi McIntyre. So unless something big time happens here in the second half of this race, K Batson could be saying sayonara to his championship hopes. Same could be said for the defending champ, Jordan Lopez. And it might be a stretch, but it could very well be the same for T Wright. Man, I mean, came into this race talking about T Wright and Carson Gum. I had the 2 of them pegged as 50% of the final 4 before they even took the green flag, just because they had great runs at Boston and Talladega. It just seemed like with, what was it, 30 and 26 points respectively for the top 2, it would be a walk in the park, right? You just have to finish up inside the top 30, easy task. But apparently that is not the case for the driver of the 28 car. I'd have to go back through my notes, but I think there's only been one time that a Daytona 500 winner has gone on to be in the Final 4 for the championship, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was back in Season 1. Carter Friesen was the very first Daytona 500 winner back in Season 1, and he finished runner-up to Chris Dollerton, 7 points, if I recall correctly, behind Dollerton for the championship. Since then, no driver that has won the Daytona 500 has gone on to make it into the Final 4 to compete for the championship. And T Wright might extend that streak to 3 if he is not able to advance here tonight. Had a driver kind of fade from view. Where did they go? Someone's missing up here from this top 5. I'm trying to put my finger on it. And that'd be why, because we had pit stops. Belding is in, so I'm trying to remember who that driver was that was up there inside of the, Phil Parker, that's who it was. He must have made a pit stop a lap earlier. And this should be the only pit stop of the evening for these drivers, too. This could be what we call the money stop. Dylan Young leaving pit road. Oh, this could be a trouble. Oh, they're coming down here to where the pit road hooks around for turn 1. Belding's got that number 1 pit stall. And he's in. And the caution is out. You see the pace car leaving pit road. Right in the middle of green flag pit stops. The caution is going to wave. I believe J Deaver, was he on pit road? Did he lead that lap while on pit lane, or did he stay out? I think he stayed out. He could have a bunch of drivers trapped a lap down. I saw someone back there with some damage. Who was that? Everybody trying to get their service done, trying to get out before the race leader comes around to stay on the lead lap. Oh, we got a wreck over here in turn 1. Oh, Levi McIntyre into Keith Batson. Charles Sandfer was in that as well, and that could be championship hopes over for Keith Batson right then and there. I don't think that's what brought the caution out initially, though. I think that was a follow-up. As Belding, I think it did stay on the lead lap, and he will re-inherit the lead here, waiting for ticker to show. No! He's on the tail end of the lead lap, according to what they're showing here. Are we going to have only 3 drivers on the lead lap? V Almariego, J Deaver, and Michael Wayne Robinson. That's what it's looking like right now. Someone's smoking on pit road. How many times, especially here in the playoffs, how many times have we had where green flag pit stops are taking place and a caution completely changes it up? We had it happen at Richmond, I know that. I think we had it happen at Hillside. Pretty sure we had it happen at Arizona. I think Indianapolis had happened as well. There have been so many races this season where a caution has come out right in the middle of green flag pit stops. And this was the only pit stop they were going to have to make here tonight. Man, just when you think you've got it all figured out, the caution messes everything up and you have to reevaluate it all again. Well, Jessica Shelton's showing the way here, but she is not the race leader. She's currently, I believe, 1 lap down in the 40th position. Brad Stover there as well. Just in the tail end of the lead lap is Charles Belding, but your race leader's all the way back here. That's your top 3 right there. J Deaver, V Almariego, and Michael Wayne Robinson. So they're going to all be moving up a little bit here, but behind drivers on the tail end of the lead lap who are going to be praying for a caution to come out. Let's go back and see what even brought this yellow flag out here. Unfortunate for some drivers, but it'll make things very interesting in the final 20-some-odd laps of this race. Well, actually, this caution took place a lot earlier than I had originally realized. Just took the pace car a little bit of time to leave pit road. Tristan Allen slowing up. He was going to come down pit lane, and Michael Rude just gets into his left rear quarter panel, spins him up the racetrack. Makes some contact with the rear bumper of his Dex Imaging Toyota. And with oncoming traffic, race officials throwing out the caution. See if Ryan Brommer is able to slow up. Ooh, he's going to sideswipe the 15, but no further contact between them. Now, I want to also check on what happened to Charles Sandfer, as well as Levi McIntyre and Keith Batson. There's Sandfer down and away. Okay, he gets into Carson Gum. So that might be a little bit of damage they'll have to fix on the 19. And he has Batson and McIntyre 2 and 3 cars respectively behind him. So what happens coming off pit road here? Double wide ahead of him with Stover and LaPlante. Oh, Stover slow. Sandfer avoids him. All right, looks like nothing happens there. Let's fast forward a little bit. Okay, so these guys are all going around. They were on... Oh. I think they were all on the lead lap when the caution came out, so they were all going to get their spots back. And watch how Batson's down there way on the apron. He's going to slide up the track into Charles Sandfer. Two of them going to make some pretty good contact. This was actually over in 3 and 4. I thought this was in 1 and 2. And then Levi McIntyre going to see coming into view. There he is. He was coming around to make sure he got his lap back. And tries to get on the brakes. Runs into Batson and runs into Sandfer. So that is a tough break for those guys who would have still been, up to speed at least and with pretty pristine cars. And in that scramble to try and get back onto the lead lap there before the pace car lapped them, they all end up with damage. And for Keith Batson, came in, the cut line driver was already running towards the back of the pack anyway, but I think that could be the nail in the coffin of his championship hopes. Tough break there for him. That single car charter entry. Of course, he has 2 drivers that run for his team, KB Racing Enterprises, in the non-charter series as well, but the lone entry that runs full-time in the charter system here this season, looks like he will not be advancing into the Final Four at Homestead next week. Let's go back, figure it all out, find out where our remaining 7 playoff contenders are running here for what looks like it's going to be somewhere in the vicinity of maybe 15 laps to go. Well, first things first, after the incident, Keith Batson has taken his car back to the garage, as has Levi McIntyre, so they will not reach the conclusion of this race. J Shelton and Brad Stover, you saw up there towards the front, they are 1 lap down. They were actually 2 laps down when the caution came out, got one of their laps back apiece when J Deaver, V Almariego, and Michael Wayne Robinson hit pit lane. The rest of the field is all in the lead lap, but they are going to be restarting about 55 seconds ahead of the race leader. And some of them, like Austin LaPlante right there, they're going to be starting just ahead of the race leader. So your top 3 are starting at the rear of the field. The rest of the field is about, 700 feet from going a lap down? Something like that. I don't know how long these straightaways are. But as far as your playoff contenders are concerned, none of them are of the top 3 back here. Deaver looking for his 3rd win of the season in his career. V Almariego looking for his 1st of the season, 2nd of his career. And Michael Wayne Robinson looking for his 2nd of his career and 2nd of the season. J Millz, Carson Gum are the only playoff contenders up inside of the top 10 for this restart as we're back under green. J Deaver going to get around his S3 Motorsports teammate Charles Sandfer. Kind of held up V Almariego, and now Deaver under fire. Oh, caution! Wreck! This is going to help a lot of drivers get back in the lead lap as Deaver is involved from the race lead. Caution's going to fly. We're racing back to the yellow flag. V Almariego, I think, got a piece of it as well. That's going to turn the lead over to Michael Wayne Robinson, who's trying to put Trey Wright a lap down before he gets back to the start-finish line. Trey Wright's not going to have anything of that. And oh my goodness, there are about 25 to 30 drivers looking up at the sky right now and saying thank you, thank you, thank you, because new life was just breathed into their chances of being in the running for this win, or at least to stay on the lead lap. Not sure where Michael Wayne Robinson thinks he's going. These drivers all actually have to go around him. Oh, okay, so what he's doing, he's waiting to get up there to the pace car. All these other drivers have to go by him because they are going to get to go around the pace car and be back in the tail end of the lead lap. Well, Carter Friesen was the car I saw first out of shape up there, and 2 drivers that were inside of the top 3, those lucky drivers that had caught the caution when they did, V Almariego and J Deaver, they were collected up in the incident. So let's go back and see what happened here. 2nd caution of the night, late in this one, and we'll be getting the restart with less than 10 to go. As if this night couldn't get any stranger, I think Friesen either blew the engine, missed a shift, or maybe ran out of fuel. Watch here going into turn 1, how this car just appears to suddenly lose power. Look at that. Right in front of Trey Wright, practically comes to a stop in the center of the corner. I don't know what happened there, but there's Deaver, nowhere to go. He runs in the back of Tristan Allen, and then he gets run into by V Almariego, sent up the track into Tristan Allen once again. And Deaver, who could have very easily been a three-time winner by the end of the night, now has got that damage on both the front and the rear of his Wheaties Chevrolet. That was so strange. Let's see if maybe an in-car cam with the 37 will give us an idea of what happened to him. And why I think there's something a little bit more underlying with this than what we originally would think for Carter Friesen is because he didn't even drive it back to pit road. He teleported it back to pit road. Couldn't even get the car refired. On board with him here. Let's take a listen. You heard right there. I mean, that car never got up to fourth gear. You heard him shift to second, shift to third, and it just redlined and never shifted up to fourth. That one's a bit of a mystery to me. Maybe we'll be able to get an idea of what happened there to Carter Friesen, but this just changed the landscape of this race yet again here at Rockingham as we get ready to now go back to the green. Friesen's not out of the race yet, still sits on pit road, so we may not get an idea of what happened with his 37 for a little bit here, but we will certainly be checking in to find out what led to that rather bizarre problem over there in turn 1. But with that caution coming out, we now have 35 cars all up here on the lead lap and lined up behind the race leader. Charles Sandfer, Tristan Allen, Jessica Shelton, and Brad Stover, they'll all be one lap down apiece. And with it being less than a 10 to go restart, they will actually line up inverted with the lead lap cars. 3 laps down, as Carter Friesen has mentioned, he still has not taken his car to the garage at this point in time. So Michael Wayne Robinson is the race leader. Vince Almariego in second. Cole Deaver did not come to pit road, despite the damage you can see he has back there. He's going to line up in third. Charles Belding, the pole sitter, who led good majority of this race up to the round of green flag pit stops, which was really the turning point of this race. He's going to line up in fourth. Highest playoff driver is going to be fifth. That's J Millz. Jack Mitchell is in sixth. Phil Parker seventh. Then playoff contenders Carson Gum and Dylan Young. They're in eighth and ninth, and Cole Baker completes the top 10. So 3 of our playoff drivers up inside of the top 10. Chris Dollerton is just on the outside in 11th place. And you can go a long ways down before you find the rest of our playoff contenders. Zach Rogers back in 24th position. Jordan Lopez in 29th. And T Wright currently sits in the 35th position. Keith Batson, we know, is a driver that will not be advanced into the Final Four as he is out of this race. As things stand right now, my calculations are 100%. It looks like the drivers that would be advancing into the Final Four, if things stay the way exactly as they are, would be Carson Gum, J Millz, Dylan Young, and Chris Dollerton. So Zach Rogers, Jordan Lopez, and T Wright, they've got some work to do here, and they're going to have 7 laps in which to try to do it. Michael Wayne Robinson got his first career win back during the Chili Bowl. Didn't have to qualify for that race. All drivers, charter and non-charter alike, started one of 4 Chili Bowl heats, in which was then won by 3 non-charter drivers. Ryan Busher was the only driver that was a chartered machine that won the final one of those heats. But Michael Wayne Robinson now trying to join Dylan Poteet here this season as a 2-time winner as a non-charter driver. Poteet, of course, getting his second win at Hillside, and he had his first one in one of those 4 Chili Bowl heats. Michael Wayne Robinson making his 9th start of the season here tonight. Remember, he came in about the midway portion of the regular season, filling for Mike Wiley at KB. And he will be leading us back to green with some wounded cars in his rearview mirror, so we'll see how this restart is as the green flag is out. Pace car was going, that looked like down the infield area. That was weird. Car up in the wall, Brad Stover, the lap machine. Ooh, this is chaos up here. Tristan Allen trying to get by Vince Almariego, who's a lead lap car. Tristan Allen's 1 lap down. And look at the pole sitter Charles Belding trying to get back up here. He's closing in on Cole Deaver as it looks like that 42 is off the pace. Got some damage there after running into the back of Cole Deaver in the latest caution. Speaking of caution, I think we have a caution. We do. I don't think this is going to end the race under yellow. But it is indeed another caution off of turn 2, it looks like. And it looks like Arthur Xavier might have been the cause of this one. The rookie out of Northeast Motorsports. They're actually servicing the 37 of Carter Friesen. So whatever the issue was, mechanical or otherwise, they've been able to fix it. And T Wright was involved in this one. Well, a driver that came into this race looking like he was good to go to be in the championship for next week. That could right there be the end of his hopes of advancing into the battle at Homestead. M Haas with some damage there as well on the Speed Raceway Toyota Camry. Let's go back, see what happened. They're dropping like flies in the latter stages of this Rockingham race. Top left of your screen there, J Llamas up the racetrack, riding the wall through 1 and 2. Oh, and you see M Haas turn that car hard to the left to try to not get into the back of the 84, but not able to avoid that. Gets into the right rear quarter panel. J Qualls spins him around, and Arthur Xavier is swept up in it. Hits the inside wall, then shoots back up the racetrack. Nowhere for T Wright in the 28 to go, and Carter Friesen actually had returned back to the track. I didn't notice that. But he gets collected up in this one as well. That's a big hit there for T Wright in the 28 car. Well, I can't help but remember back in the beginning of the playoffs where the Fords had the rest of the manufacturers outnumbered 2-1, 3-1, something like that. And just like that, 2 drivers that came into this race, Ford drivers, they came into this race inside of the final 4 positions to start with, now find themselves more than likely finishing this race in the garage area. Batson was the first to go, and T Wright in the 28, who came into this as the points leader of the Elite 8, might be the second, as he couldn't even get that car back to pit lane. That is a tough break there for our Daytona 500 winner. Looks like the streak of Daytona 500 winners advancing, or not advancing into the final 4, I should say, is going to increase to 3 as we go back, see how many laps are we going to have left here to finish out this race at Rockingham Speedway. And the ironic thing is, we came off the heels of Talladega last week, and usually Talladega is expected to be the race where the chaos takes place, and it really kind of sets up what the scenarios are for the drivers coming into Rockingham. But with what we've seen here in just the last 20 laps alone, I think Rockingham has played more of the X factor in this round than Talladega did. Now, not to say that Talladega didn't give us a scenario coming here into Rockingham, but usually you expect that big wreck, the big one at Talladega, to be the deciding factor. That wasn't the case. It was the long green flag runs and the ability or inability of drivers to have drafting partners on that long green flag run that really led to what we saw out of Talladega Superspeedway. Here tonight at Rockingham, though, no doubt about it, it's playing its part into who our final 4 are going to be, and it has taken another contender out of the picture as T Wright has gone to the garage area. He had to finish up inside the top 30. I think this knocks him out of the final 4. Arthur Xavier also goes back there with him. 33 drivers will be on the lead lap and chasing Michael Wayne Robinson for what's going to be a green-white checkered here at the Rockingham Speedway. 2 lap machines between himself and V Almariego in second. C Deaver third, Charles Belding, and J Millz the top 5 as the green flag back in the air. 2 laps to go in the penultimate race of the season. And Belding goes to the top. Maybe a little too high there. Opens the door for Millz as Dylan Young's into the wall in the 2 car further back. He gets it off the wall, though, keeps it going. Michael Wayne Robinson saying, just keep it together, everybody back there. Let me get us back to the white flag, and he will do so. Michael Wayne Robinson, what a rookie year for him. We've already kind of given his backstory. Came in as a fill-in driver, picked up a victory at the dirt track at the Chili Bowl, and now in only his 9th start in the charter system, he's going to be a 2-time winner as he comes around, and he is going to take the checkered flag, winning the Subway 400 at North Carolina Speedway. 3 wide across the line there. That was with the lap machine of Charles Sandfer. And right now, according to our top 10, J Millz was 6th, Dylan Young was 9th, and Chris Dollerton was 10th. I think those 3 drivers did enough to make their way into the Final Four. Carson Gum, I think, was just outside of the top 10 and 11th, and of course, he had to just finish up inside the top 30. So I think right there, the 4 playoff contenders that finish inside the top 11 are the 4 that are going to be competing for the championship next week at Homestead. Of course, we're going to have to work the calculators. We're going to have to figure this out, but, I mean, Jordan Lopez was around Dylan Young and Zach Rogers. And Rogers and Lopez did not finish well in this one. T Wright was pretty much taken out of the picture with his DNF. Keith Batson was taken out of the picture with his DNF. And the points, as we mentioned, were so close. 7 points between 3rd through 8th. I don't see how my math could be wrong. But how about Michael Wayne Robinson? I mean, how about these non-charter drivers? I mean, what does that make now? The 7th, I believe? 7th non-charter win on the season. 2 for Michael Wayne Robinson. 2 for Dylan Poteet. 1 for Schwallenberg. 1 for Tristan Allen. And 1 for Chris Dollerton, because he was a non-charter driver back in the early portion of the season. That's 7 wins by drivers that had to, in essence, race their way in week after week. Now, granted, 3 of those wins, as I already had touched on, for the 1 for Robinson, the 1 for Poteet, and the 1 for Schwallenberg at the Chili Bowl, they didn't have to qualify their way into those races. They were automatically starting those races, charter or non-charter driver. But I mean, even if we take those away, that's 4 wins in the course of 35 races for drivers that had to qualify their way into the field, and to top that all off, had to start outside the top 35 in the starting grid, had to work their way up there to the front. Now, granted, Michael Wayne Robinson caught a very lucky break with that first caution coming out, but hey, if you're there and the chips fall in your favor, there's nothing that you can attribute that to but the fact that that driver was in the right place at the right time. And Michael Wayne Robinson has proved that when he gets in behind that car is going to go fast. And he is your winner here tonight for his 2nd win of his career and only his 9th start here in the charter system. V Almariego, great run for him, and J Deaver as well. Credit to those 2 guys. They ended up getting involved in that 2nd caution. Neither one came to pit road. They clearly had damage, were clearly off the pace, but they knew that they had some lap machines between them and Charles Belding, who had probably the fastest car of the night, and they were able to hang on for the final podium positions. Belding, who started on the pole, led the first about 30 laps of this race. He'll finish in 4th. Jack Mitchell, who ran 2nd to Belding most of this race, will finish in 5th. J Millz, Cole Baker, Phil Parker, Dylan Young, and Chris Dollerton are going to be your top 10. Now, I've already talked about the issue there with T Wright. The thing we got to figure out here now is, did the drivers that I'm projecting, Millz, Young, and Dollerton, did they do enough in their finishing result to finish far enough ahead that T Wright's DNF is going to knock him out of the Final Four? That's what we've got to determine. Right now, Keith Batson is definitely out. Jordan Lopez and Zach Rogers, they are definitely out. Does T Wright, did he have enough of a cushion? And did the drivers that right now I think might have knocked him out, did they accumulate enough points to be able to make sure that T Wright is not advancing? And they are. Let's find that out. So J Millz came into this race 29 points behind the 28 car. That means he would have to finish 30 positions ahead. He finished in 6th. Let's actually find out where J Millz, or make that T Wright officially finish, 39th. So that means that J Millz would have to have finished in 9th or better. He succeeded in doing so. He finished in 6th. All right. Now let's go to Dylan Young. Dylan Young was 32 points back. He finishes in the 9th position, with T Wright finishing back in the 39th position. That means that Dylan Young would have had to have finished a total of 33 positions ahead of T Wright. That means he would have had to have finished in 6th or better, which he did not do. He finished in 9th. And Chris Dollerton, we don't even have to do the calculations, because with him finishing 10th, there's no way that he finished a total of 37 positions ahead of T Wright. So, my predictions were incorrect. Working the calculator, checking officially of who is in and who is out. Dylan Young does finish ahead of Chris Dollerton, so Dollerton would be the first man out looking in. Dylan Young would advance, replacing Keith Batson, and T Wright, despite the fact he's going to finish down the 39th position, is still going to advance into the Final Four, joining his Blue Oval Automotive teammate J Millz, Dylan Young, and Carson Gum, who had to point his way into the playoffs. That's going to be your Final Four. for the championship next week at the Homestead Miami Speedway. For all 4 of those drivers, they are looking for their first championship of their Duracell Cup Series career. That is going to be quite a battle when we get to Homestead next week. And my goodness, who could have seen Rockingham playing as much of a part into this as it did? And I had it wrong. I thought T Wright was out. I thought that he had to finish in the top 30. If he didn't finish the top 30, he was in big trouble. Man, he's got to be really lucky to have gotten the gap he had with his good runs at Arizona, or make that at Boston and Talladega, because this could have really been a bad situation for him. But he survives, as does Carson Gum, and J Millz, Dylan Young will be joining them in that championship for next week at Homestead Miami Speedway. There's a look at the full finish results from this race, as we had 2 cautions come out during the course of this one. 33 drivers finished on the lead lap, and 4 drivers did not make it to the conclusion of this evening's Subway 400. But Michael Wayne Robinson is your winner as a non-charter driver here tonight. 7th non-charter driver win on the season, 2nd of his career. And your final 4, once again, heading into Homestead Miami with the championship on the line. Daytona 500 winner T Wright, Carson Gum, J Millz, and Dylan Young. Who do you think's going to win the championship? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you all for tuning into this race, though. If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit like, subscribe, and be part of the crew today. We've shown you the full finish results from this race. These are the point standings. They're pretty simple to look at. Wright, Gum, Millz, Young, they're all tied. Best finisher wins the championship next week at the Homestead Miami Speedway. Should be a good one. Hope you tune in for it. Till then, I've been Seth Cole, and you've been watching a production of the NNSCRA Offline Racing at its best.